It's a colorful foresight where we intuitively connect from within. And it's woo woo time where we connect our woo woo into our mundane living. Hi, this is a colorful foresight where we intuitively connect from within. And it's woo woo time where we connect our woo woo into our mundane living. Hi. By the way, it was not supposed to play 3 times, but
I was getting confused.
I
was like,
have no
wait a minute,
idea.
what's
So you
going on?
guys have an idea who I am by now. So my name is Sylvia of Colorful Foresight, and today we have Heather from Indigo Jaguar Intuitive Arts. I love this topic tonight. She's going to share about sign and synchronicity and meeting her honey, her love. Now, when you listen to this, see how this applied to you.
Yeah.
And if you want to put on your intuition hat later and share something in a comment, please do. Or if you are unable to see this live and you watch after, please comment. It would be nice.
Yeah.
So Heather,
Yeah.
start from the beginning. How you
So
met your
Sylvia. Oh boy, I just wish
We
I
were
could
just
have met
making
him
fun, but
sooner. Huh?
so start. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Go ahead. What? No, sooner because I was in Flagstaff in December of '93 until oh hey Nancy, I was on exchange program through Buff State to NAU in '93, and he was already working at Walmart because he'd been working for Walmart for at one point 20 years, and he already been there for about I think 3 or 4 of them. And I used to have to go in there a couple of times. Well, probably ran into him and didn't even know it. Um, but no, so I think it was now the end of the '90s gets a little blurry sometimes because I was just finishing college. Last semester, I lost my dad. And then I was taking at one point having to take 3 buses back and forth to work because I was a security guard at the Albright Knox Art Gallery. And so at one point I had to, quit that job, with my mom and changing jobs. But within, I would say 98, between 98 and 2000, um, I met an astrologer, psychic who also did massage therapy. Her name is Cassandra. And I think Cassandra's still doing her thing. Cassandra Butler's her name. She's probably on Facebook. Hi, Dina. And so at that point in my life, figuring, I want to go to. I was starting to kind of get a little lonely, and I knew I was going to. I don't know if knew I was going to move to Arizona by that time or not. But anyway, when I sat down and had my chart done by her, she goes, I see you meeting somebody within the next, year or two. And I said, okay. And I was kind of excited. I'm like, is he my age or younger? Because at that point, I was more, I wanted, not that I was, not that young at that point, because I was like 28, 29. But, I thought my age or a little bit younger because my sister, she had, her husband was like 20 years. My mom's relationship and I wasn't that great. So she had a relationship, with somebody quite a lot older. So I was just like, you know what? I want to find somebody my age or younger, just kind of. And I was like, okay. She goes, 10 years older than you. And I'm like, oh, okay. And so and then she was and I was like, I really was like into native boys. I was like all for, I was like, oh, is he going to be, am I going to meet him? Is he going to be, native, indigenous, not to be disrespectful, but, I really was really into the native culture and indigenous people. I was learning spirituality. I had friends. I was, I was just enamored with a lot of, and she was like, well, yes, I see some. And so she's telling me I see him playing something that, like a ball throwing over. And I said, lacrosse. Okay. So she's telling me these, at least these 3 things. And I'm like, okay. And I go to meet him here. She goes, no, you're not going to meet him here. And I think it might have been at that point when I was getting ready to go stay with a friend to go to Arizona. So I think it was in that time frame within just, a few years. So sure enough, I get to Arizona, and I get a job at Walmart. And I was there a couple of months, or about a month or so. Then I got a job there. And in the beginning, it was so funny because there was a couple of, there was this other guy I was interested in, one of my coworkers, and I used to go to Shan. Oh, why doesn't he like me? What am I doing wrong? Aren't I nice? He's like, yeah, you're nice. So here I am, crying on his shoulder about some other guy who won't even, look twice at me, won't even go out with me for breakfast. And I said, so I tried again one day. I'm like, okay, who wants to go out for breakfast? He was like, no, and he was like, I will. And I didn't want to be mean. I said, all right, let's go to breakfast. And so from there, things carried on, and started talking. I'm like, so, how old are you? Because I realized he was older than me. And I said, how old are you? And he told me, and I was like, well, okay, there's 11. So very close to time, me one off, 11. And I said, you don't have, because his last name is Mannion, so that's very Irish. And I said, well, you don't have any Native American in you, do you? And he goes, yeah, I do a little bit. I have Osage. So I'm like, okay, so now we're 2 for 2. And I'm sitting there, and I'm like, did you, because he isn't big into sports or anything. He was into wrestling. And he said, yeah, and when I was younger, I used to play lacrosse. So Cassandra had that he was at least 10 years older than me. He did have some Native American in him, and he was a lacrosse player.
Wow.
And it wasn't
Did you
long
like him
after
right
having
away,
this
though?
greeting with,
Did you
huh?
feel anything like when you first saw him, besides those signs of synchronicity? Did you feel
Well,
anything?
he
Not yet.
got excited. Well, he got excited because, you know, when I was starting there, I was like, we were excited. So we were getting ready for work that night or whatever, or it was in the morning. I can't remember if we were coming on the shift or off shift. And people were talking about music, and I said, "Yeah, I really like Led Zeppelin." And the minute he heard that, he was like, "Oh, you like Led Zeppelin?" He comes and he claps down in front of me, and I'm like, "Whoa, oh no, what did I do?" And so, yeah, so I started Walmart there around August 9th, I think it was. And by, or was it September? No, September-ish. I started late. It was late August, early September. I started Walmart, and it was like a month later, around the 9th or 10th, that we officially, got together. And yeah, I mean, it was so funny. I mean, I was kind of even embarrassed, me going on about this guy named Brian. I'm like, why is Brian? I like you. What's wrong with me? Am I ugly? No, you're not ugly, honey. I'm like, he's sweet. And yeah, next thing I know,
Oh, I
you
love
know,
that. You know, I was just typing in a comment. Look at Heather Glow as she talked about her honey.
oh, look how I glow. Ah, I'm glowing, honey.
And then
I'm
Nancy
what?
mentioned, you are. Some people, they
Hey,
talk about
let's
their
just come
honey.
here and say hi to everybody because I'm talking about you and it's a good story. I seem to be experiencing synchronicities quite often in my readings and interactions. Oh, come on, don't be shy. All right.
It's okay because he's in so many of your video giving you coffee. I was telling Heather beforehand how,
So he
hi,
didn't look
there's
like
her honey.
this. I should have had him bring the original picture of our are you going to bring it? Okay. What we originally looked like when we first got together. I can't get him to get rid of all this and do this, with it like he used to, but that's okay. We all change as we get older. Oh, Nancy said so. Here we go. And we were even together a year, and he wanted to have this picture done because he felt like he knew that we were going to be together. Like he finally found the one.
Oh,
But this was our
look at
picture,
you two.
2001.
Cutie and
Yeah.
handsome.
Yeah. Like I say, he would still be handsome if he got rid of this. But yeah, that was us. I was 32 at that point, 42 going on 43. So there's the 10, 11 year, just like Cassandra said. So
Did you
that's
like
us.
Heather right away when you saw her, or it's like one of those things that grew?
It kind of grew.
It grew.
Except for like the Led Zeppelin. He almost jumped at me across the table. He was so excited about Led Zeppelin.
I find that sometimes the one that
cool.
grows are the one that really good. Cause it's like it surprises you, and then it just gets more deeper and deeper.
I really knew this was a serious relationship because I had invited my mom. You can go now. I had invited my mom to come live up with me.
Nice meeting you.
Bye, everybody. Everybody in chat. So, yeah, and she, really put me and him, or tried to put, us through the ringer, and some of her behavior to it. I mean, he could have just up and said, you know what, I didn't sign up for this shit, excuse my language, and just, walk away. He stuck with me and knew that at some, it wasn't he wasn't going to let any of her, negativity. And I don't think she wanted to break us up, but she really, kind of, let's just say she really interfered as much as she could. And she didn't want to share. That was the whole thing, really.
So she was a trip, and he didn't care. Oh, then
Whoa,
she came back.
What was that? And now
he came to the other side.
Whoa.
It could have been an I don't know.
Well, that's my mom's upset that I'm talking about her, but she Shan had to, put up with a lot. And
it's okay. So. It's okay. We know it's okay. I was thinking about I seem to be experiencing synchronicity quite often in my reading and interaction with like-minded fellow spiritual seeker. The card I pick up with Heather sharing her story is the 10 of Cups. Also, that she was picking up the sign of synchronicity, because believe it or not, even though it just seemed like a regular way of meeting somebody, you were tuned into the energy of what was going on between you two with the Ace of Wands, right? And that's probably something you would notice, Nancy, as well. And look, little by little, you kept following the sign of synchronicity.
Knight of Pentacles, he was patient. Yep. He took his time. He was, and to get me, he was patient. Yeah.
And I feel like if you're that type of person who, connect to the sign of synchronicity, it connects in your mind. Things like that.
And he even quit smoking for me. So I told him, if you want me to go out with you, he wasn't a heavy smoker, but he did, like to have a pack and stuff. And I said, I don't want to kiss, no offense to people who in chat who smoke, but I don't like it. I grew up, secondhand with my mom and everything. And I was finally starting to get healthy. My lungs were better. My breathing was better. And I told him, I don't want to be with somebody who smokes. I don't want to kiss you and taste that and breathe that in. And he's like, oh, okay. And boom, just like that, he quit cold turkey for me.
Wow. That's amazing. Nancy has a question for you, Heather. What's the question, Nancy?
It's like looking in a string. Oh, woman, I didn't even want to find out, Yeah, because he is just absolutely, we butt heads, more lately than I like to, just because of the stress and everything that we're kind of going through right now with his health, my health, and, where we live, and just trying to stay positive, things going. We're, trying to keep as positive possible and moving forward.
And it's funny, it shows here like love will do that to people. I'm sure that people who love it's not so great, but we're gonna focus on the positive, not the that kind of.
Oh no.
The Ace of Cup, because it will make you flexible. Like he got flexible with the 2 of coins. He like literally smoked. I mean, stopped smoking. And he somehow, you would like the strength for him, so he was able to do that. So, Nancy, what was the
Right,
question
too.
you had for
Yeah.
Heather?
Inquiring minds want to know.
I know.
But he's and because of coming from a family on my mother's side that had a lot to do with history of domestic violence and abuse and stuff, and what I went through with my mom. I didn't have many boyfriends. I only had 3 boyfriends before him, and I told others, the day you ever lay a hand on me will be the last. I do not put up with that, and I don't put up with foul language and being called names. I will not be disrespected, and nothing like that has ever happened. Sometimes we've gotten angry, and an F-bomb will be dropped or whatever, but he's just I patiently waited. I waited 7 years really for him.
I'm going to say, coming from that kind of background, it's good that, because some people can get over that and they won't be in a relationship because they're afraid of that. So I'm glad that you were able to track somebody, so you were able to experience somebody who give and take. You wanted that in your life. You don't want to be like a one-way thing. Like with the 6 of coin, it's like a give and take type of relationship.
Partnership.
You guys always have a lot to talk about. That's what I'm getting. Even if you have nothing to talk about, there's always something. And Page of Pentacle. I get to you saying,
you know what that reminds me of? Put that
What?
card back up really quick. I met him in Flagstaff, Arizona, and that was the northern part of Arizona where there were mountains with lots of pine wood. I mean, ponderosa pines and forest and everything. So that card picks up in the environment that we met in.
Oh.
If people look up Flagstaff, Arizona, you will see that Arizona isn't, desert. There's a part of Arizona that has the trees and the mountains and stuff, and that looks like exactly like the forested area where we met.
And you know what? Before we go answer Nancy's question, Child Woman was like, "Oh, I don't have sign of synchronicity." I'm like, everybody has sign of synchronicity. It's just a matter of how do you recognize. So I'm gonna shuffle some cards. See, maybe there's some visual for you that might help you realize, oh, I do get some sign of synchronicity.
And Nancy, Moldavite's a very high vibration stone for some people. When I worked at Crystal Magic in Flagstaff, we actually had a customer who wanted to try a ring, and after a few minutes, she got really dizzy, really woozy. We had to have her. She was like, "Take this off, take this off." We took it off. We had to sit her down in a chair. We had to get her water. So, for some people, Moldavite is very high vibrational, and
what they look like? You have that?
Just kind of. I have a Moldavite, but I don't know where it is right now. But Nancy was asking about it. So, yeah, anything with Moldavite, be careful. Yeah, just be very careful. For some people, like me, it doesn't really do that, but for some people, it will, because our energy centers are all different. So it's good to just kind of hold it.
Is it possible because she just got it that it did that, but as she continued, it wouldn't do that?
She could maybe adapt to it a little bit here at a time. There's some people that can wear it constantly because they become attuned to it. For me, I have a very special, unique shape because I got my one. It first really started coming out on the market back in 2007, 2008. So it's not really easy for me to make it into a pendant or anything. It's not. I haven't really picked it up in a while, so my vibration may have changed where maybe I might sense it more or what. But when you do wear it, or you first get a piece, make sure that, you're somewhere, home. I would recommend being home, sitting with it for a while, holding it in your hand, and start paying attention. If you feel like you know, your heart's starting to flutter, or your ache, or your energy, just like, set it aside, and a little at a time, work with it. Or if you realize you don't attune to it, maybe just keep it near you and see how that works. And maybe that way, because you can still connect with the stone's energy, even if you're not holding it. If it's, in a nearby place, and that might be, you know, how someone can work with it.
Did that help you, Nancy?
You're awake. She says she was up all. Yeah, each
Night.
of us are very, very different. That's why it's good to read different books from different authors on stones, because they will have their own experiences along with the traditional, the kind of like the basics. And then there are other books with authors that will maybe delve a little bit more into it, and um, give their impressions of how they experienced it from their vibration. And a beautiful segue. Thank you, Nancy, for bringing in the crystals. If I may, Shan has always been very supportive. He's very of the pagan mind. And for me, I have a lot of special crystals that were gifts from him. So our relationship is also, connected with him gifting me, special crystals and things and stuff too. So I just wanted to put that little out there, seeing that it just seemed to flow together, talking about crystals, and then, him buying certain ones for me as gifts.
And you know what? Um, I've had some crystal, but sometimes there were some crystals. I'm not like I don't know the names and stuff like that like you do. But at one point, I didn't feel like I wanted them. So what I did, I put them in like certain spot in Central Park, but where it was not very active. Because I figured it could at least be with nature. But I made sure it wasn't like in a busy area. I put it in those
Mhm.
spots. So I hope they're happy over there. But going back to
And
what? Go ahead.
no, I was just saying, and then sometimes we don't keep the stones. They come to us to sit with us because they're meant to go somewhere else. I have had crystals that
Oh,
I have, and stones I have given. One that I really did not want to give away because I loved it, and it was a little spendy. It was my Larimar, but it was during a Reiki healing circle where I was told by my guides, I have to give this to her. She needs this for her, So I do have crystals. There are some lately that pieces that I have that really work with or resonate with anymore. And when we go to certain parks, I'll leave them in certain areas, knowing that at some point somebody is going to come across that, and that's going to be something that they can take and they can learn. That's meant to be for them. So sometimes we're just the vehicles, we're the messengers, so to speak.
yeah,
you
and I
know.
like we did some videos, Heather and I. She talked about one of the videos on crystals, and the 2 or 3 crystals she showed, it was the one that shows her.
Mhm.
I thought that very interesting. But going back to like about sign and synchronicity, Child Woman was here before. She's like, I don't think I have sign and synchronicity. So I was thinking about Cheyenne. If you have any
Yeah,
example of it, if you want to type in a comment, please do. But one
I
thing
think
that
I
came to
think we
mind,
all do. We all do. We just don't
we all do.
realize it.
You know what came to mind? You ever like go to an event, like think of the sixth one. You go to an event and everything is just vibing. It's like you're in tune. And you might get along with certain people, the right type of friends or people that come to your way. And that's an example of it could be like sign of synchronicity. Like
Hmm.
I have a sign of synchronicity far as like a miracle that I was sharing. Where it was like boom, 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 one after another, something that's miraculous. Um, that's what a sign of synchronicity could be. It's just something that you keep seeing over and over. It leads you to one thing after another.
Hmm.
And for the only thing I could think of, love, I haven't had like yet the grace of meeting somebody in that level, but I was connecting with somebody through online, and I wasn't really interested in him, but our vibe were connecting, and there was like certain sign of synchronicity that I was seeing over and over with him and him with me. And sometimes it's just about the energy, like the Ace of Wands. It's just that connection. Uh,
Or it's a
my
reflection,
woman said, I said
at that
things with
time.
friend at the same time. Oh,
Yeah,
she
and
said she
Chad and I
haven't thought of.
sometimes finish our own sentences. We'll say something and he'll be like, "Oh my God, I was just thinking that," or we'll go to say, and it's the same thing at the same time. So, yeah, one every now and then we vibe off of people, or sometimes we'll get a message at one time and then it'll come up. So, I think synchronicities. People are thinking like trumpets, like earlier,
Yeah,
things are just, but if you really just
sometimes,
kind
but
of
not
go
always.
and you look back in your life, sometimes it can be very subtle.
I'm gonna say most likely than not, it's usually more subtle. And then once in a while, you get that obvious, whoa, you know.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
It could be like having a good day. Everything is working out. You're like, God, I had a good day. Everything was like boom, boom, boom. Started from when I was driving to work and everything was flowing. It's that kind of vibe, right, Heather? Let's
Mm-hmm.
see what Cheyenne said.
Mm-hmm.
By the way, hello. First time I'm meeting you. You must be a friend of Heather. The other
Mm-hmm.
day, I was chatting with
My
someone in
peeps.
their comment section, and then we both posted something about the moon on our separate community pages at
At the
exactly the
same
same
time,
time.
very cool. Mm-hmm.
That's it.
That's very
Let me
cool.
see. I'm going to shuffle a card.
Mm-hmm.
What could that be an example of that? What Cheyenne just said. I'm curious.
Another synchronicity too could be is when I was younger, I almost got hit by a bus stop, went to start crossing, and I felt like someone grabbed me back. And because they did, a car came flying by. So that's considered a synchronicity as well. There was my guy was there at that time that I needed, pulled me out of the way, caught my attention, and you know, so to me that's a spiritual synchronicity as well. Our guides looking out for us. At that time I felt like it was my cousin who I just lost like a year or two before. She was hit and killed by a car, and so reaching out or something connecting where it caught my attention, and you know boom, went right by. So yeah,
Wow.
like
And
I
here's,
said, you
here's
just
what I thought interesting because it seems like it's coming out of nowhere, the seven cup. Like there's
Seven of
so many
Cups.
options like pulling out, but it's like
Mm-hmm.
they're coming from different angle, but then they're justice, it's balancing and showing up in a way that needs to be shown. You know what came to my mind,
Mm-hmm.
Heather? I didn't think this was like part
What?
of sign and synchronicity, but when my grandmother died, right? Let's say she died, I don't know, got to be 15 years or so. So my sister had a coworker, former coworker. She was visiting, and she said, "Come with me." His cousin is a medium, and he was having like 10 people. So I was in my room, and a picture of my grandmother fell. Didn't think anything of it. That happened, right? So I put it back up. Fell right again.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't think anything of it. But when it happened 3 times in a row, boom, boom, boom,
Mm-hmm.
usually that's like something. So I put it up and it fell again. And I remember for a second going, Grandma, are you trying to speak to me? And I dismissed it because that's what we do sometimes. We're intuitive because sometimes it is the coincidence, but sometimes they're not. So I totally dismissed it. And
Mm-hmm.
I remember even thinking, I wonder if she's going to show up at the medium thing, but totally forgot about it. So my sister and I go to the medium. And because they're like 10 people, so he reads
Oh,
everybody.
it's a
He goes,
gallery. Okay, it's a
right.
gallery. A gallery
So
read.
he gets to me and he goes, your grandmother's laughing because she knows that, she knows that, and she's going like this. Could I have my grandmother used to laugh? She used to be one of those people that laugh like this, like, ha, 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 the whole body.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you
And
feel the whole body
she
move.
knows that you thought if you were going to come today. I was like, oh my God. So those are the signs of synchronicity that maybe that's more on a fantastical level, but that's an example of it. or just having a good day and everything's just flowing, or having what Heather explained how she met her honey, going to an astrologer, and then da 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 da, things like that.
Well, I pulled some cards too. So for synchronicities, a lot of times all we need to do is quiet the mind. When we go into meditation, sometimes that's when spiritual synchronicities happen, or an intuition of something that's going to be shown to us, or when we go into that quiet mind and we receive them, and or where we might bring. So let's say we might have an experience was that synchronicity, quieting the mind, going in and doing the meditation, calling your guides in. And what's perfect for this next card is a tall tale. Stop telling yourself or trying to convince yourself that it's not real. Don't go listening to the negative voices. When you're in that quiet mode and fall for ego, fear, just remain open to the experience. And the last card, because I like doing threes, is the power of purpose. You hit it right on the bullseye. So if you're going into that meditation to think about something that was that a synchronicity, first of all, yes, don't let the ego tell you otherwise. And then there's your confirmation right there. So in your
And I feel
experiences.
when you're talking about it, I felt like the energy was slowing down. When you talk about the quieting of mind, because a lot of time we're just the monkey mind, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
We're not mellow enough to. You ever have like a really good day and you're outside and you're just connecting with the trees and that kind of vibe? That
Yeah.
sinus
When I go to the park. Yep.
had that kind of vibe to it. So,
and that
I
happened
like
to
that.
me yesterday. I was at the park by myself. Was it yesterday or the day before? I think it was yesterday, because Shan has a bad tooth, so he didn't feel like going. So I sat down by one of our regular trees, and something caught my eye, and I thought, oh, maybe that was a. But when I looked, it started moving in and out, and I'm like, and I was like, what the? And then it disappeared. I think for the first time with my physical eyes, I saw an orb. I saw a spirit form. It was very small,
Wow, that's amazing.
but I'm I'm seeing here. There's the tree, and it's going kind of just like in and out, boom. And I'm like, what was that? And it wasn't until later when I was driving home that I saw a truck that said the word Ava on it. And I remember going, wait a minute, I just saw a different truck earlier with the word Ava on it. Now I have a great grandma, and she's been one of my spirit guides, and her name is Ava. And so today when I was on the Crone Zone and I asked if what I saw was an actual orb, Heather and Priscilla pulled cards and that this was an ancestor of yours. And then I put two and two together. Ava, then I saw the spirit form. So it was a family member coming to let me know that they were there. Now I'm actually starting to be able to physically see. It was my first one, and I was just kind of like, oh my God. Because before I've seen them while looking at the screen, I've had an orb or two appear, and I'm like, what the? Did everybody see that on the screen? But I never got to see it physically with my eyes. Yesterday, I did.
I have a feeling as we keep ascending, we're gonna
Mm-hmm.
see it more physically. Because why we don't see it, like you were seeing it, that's to the next level. Can we like
Mm-hmm.
we know we can see orb through the camera or through but to see it physically, that's like you're in that energy level. So I have because I they always talk about like why we don't see like formless energy, but it can become into form, but may show up in the
Mm-hmm.
light because our mind can handle it. We're just not.
Yeah.
It's like we see intuitively, we could feel, we might even get vision. But if that energy being showed up in 3D, I would poop in my pants.
Briefly. Well,
Could
when I
have
was younger,
there.
I saw a loved one, my aunt, when I was 9 years old. My Aunt Carla passed away from cancer. She got breast cancer and she died. And of course, back then, cancer treatment was just, the survival rate was really low. And she was 30. And it was like 2 weeks later, I woke up in the middle of the night because I heard someone saying my name. And I thought it was my mom. And I opened my eyes, and at the end of my bed, I saw my Aunt Carla. And she was thin, she was glowing, she was wrapped in white, and she was smiling at me. And I remember closing my eyes and then opening them up, and she was gone. And me getting out of my bed and running to my mom and dad. And then Carla was just in my room. So, the rest of my being tormented by a negative evil entity that lived in our house. But at least at that point, I got to have one positive experience of seeing an actual spirit, and that was my Aunt Carla. So years later, now I'm starting to feel less afraid. They usually come to me in my dreams, and it's rare when I have one of those. But this is the first time I've seen something that actually I said, "Wait a minute, I think that's a spirit form," and it was there and it was gone. I'm like, okay, I have to ask to make sure for verification. So I didn't want to tell myself a tall tale, my glad was like, okay, debunk, could this have been this? Yeah, but then when I went to go look for where it would have been, no, because if that was a feather, that would have been right there. I didn't see anything else. And it was just that brief couple, seconds of in and out, and then that was it. So
I
so
think
yeah. Woo! Perfect for woo woo.
I think goes back to your ego card. It's either our belief system or ego. It just can't see something yet until we get to like for you to see an orb physically. I've heard other people do that. That's amazing.
And Cheyenne's
and look
right.
at this. We get scared like 9 o'clock. Like you were like, but you were open to it. But other people couldn't handle that. Like something formless become a form, an energy being. And it makes sense that as we evolve as humanity, we'll be able to see that more and more without needing the cameras. But also going back to sign and synchronicities, we have them all the time. Sacred reverence. It is
Right.
sacred.
There's the
Energy
key.
is sacred,
Mm.
I don't know what I just said, but it doesn't matter. Let's see. What do you got there? What's the other one?
Oh no, I just said healing the heart. I think that was,
Isn't it like the heart area? It's the biggest electromagnetic
and
over
then
our
there's
brain.
another heart. There's that one's got a heart. This one has a heart in it. And then the last one was birds of a feather. And my grandmother, my grandma Johnson used to always love saying everything. So yeah, those were just beautiful cards that wanted to come out. But yeah, I just love it. I love a lot of Colette Baron Reed's decks. They're so pretty. They're so colorful, and they're very positive. So yeah, healing the heart.
Like
And
kind of like.
Cheyenne said, yeah,
Go ahead, read
that's
it.
why I have a hard time. People just why can't they believe in spirit? I can't see it. Well, there's oxygen. You don't see it, but you believe it's there because you're breathing it. I mean,
That's a great. We can't see oxygen either, but it's 100% still there. How
yeah.
about gravity? Can't see that, but it's there nonetheless. It's what I say to people who question things they can't see. What about like when we go next to the refrigerator? You can feel the vibration. Probably,
Mm-hmm.
everything in between, you could probably see it. I know that's a weird
Yeah.
example, but that's what came to my mind.
Mm.
Um,
And by the way, Shaw woman is Dina. That's her name.
oh,
So if you keep hearing me say Dina, and you get that Shaw woman. She's got a channel too.
that's good because Shah had two names. I call her Shah and you call her Dina by her real name. So
Oh,
let's
she
see what
waves.
are other examples. Let's see what that is there, but we can't see.
What was that question?
Like let's think of other example. Whoa, that we can't see, but it's 100% there. So what comes to mind? Anything?
Well, we can feel the wind. We can't see it, but we can feel it. We can hear it. We can, smell what's carrying on it. Um, you know, electromagnetic energy that keeps our poles into place. You know,
We can't
um,
see the vibration in between. Look at I don't know if the rainbow, it had to do with the light and prism, why they turn into colors, but it's all there.
mhm. Yeah, when you spin the colors together, it creates white light. Slow the white light down, and break down into all the colors. So there's all different carbon monoxide. Yes, that's another one. Hmm. The trees, the plants, they give off, if we keep cutting down our forests and trees and stuff, we're actually cutting, our air supply away. The trees are like the lungs of the earth. They're the lungs of our earth mother. And the more we cut down, the less of the carbon dioxide and the oxygen is going to be able to produce to keep the air for us to breathe. It's all related. EMF, yes. EMF detectors. Like if you go do, whether it's, ghost, I hate using the word ghost hunting. You don't hunt something that was once human or something. To me, I can see ghosts, investigating. I try to refrain from saying hunting. And this is just,
right? We don't
my own mind. But when you go in an area, there's meters that can check for EMFs. Sometimes people think they're seeing spirit or they have hallucination because sometimes the electromagnetic energy that's in the wiring in the electrical system in your house and in the walls, if those aren't done properly, they can give off a strong, energy, and that can affect the human's psyche and what we see and what perceive. Our brains are just so incredibly the potential that's untapped. And so when certain things like that affect, our bodies on a natural, like 5G is not good because you're putting those energy waves, electromagnetic energy into your body, and really quick, great crystals and stones to be able to attach to your phone or by your computer and laptop to help absorb that is like black tourmaline, black obsidian, shungite is really good. Any real black stone like an obsidian, putting by I actually got for my counselor Kathy, who's very open to all this. I can talk to her and actually because she's in front of several computer screens all day, with clients. I actually got her a piece of shungite, and she keeps that at her desk. When she's at work, she takes it home with her, when she works. So it's, people say, well, how can you prove it? Well, how can you disprove it? And it's supposed to be, and they're actually selling these in certain metaphysical stores and stuff where they're like tices that you can tape or attach to the back of your phone. So if you're on your phone a lot, that's absorbing some of the electromagnetic energy from, the 5Gs and, the energy waves from that.
You know what come to mind before we go into the comment? I don't know that it's a lot of like law attraction people or whatever. Like you ever go on a road like Shah, when you drive, go, I want to see green cars. You make that intention. Suddenly you're going to start seeing a lot of green cars, more or less. I used to play that game. I would be like, okay, while I'm driving, I want to see an angel or something. And it may show up in the sign, like on the sign, right? So it's like there's so many things. It goes back to our ego that Heather with that card and slowing down to recognize it. But it's happening what is in front of us, but we don't see it. And here are some other example. I think I'm trying to remember what the last one. Let's do that.
And when you say I want to see an angel and you see something that looks like an angel, I got a great story too for that. How about the micro? Yeah, but we can't hear, but we get yeah.
Like dogs.
I have very sensitive hearing. And if something is slightly off or given a slight hum, a lot of times I can hear it and it will drive me nuts until someone shuts something off, or like I have a lamp here. It's one of those 1-2 touch lamps. It isn't touch. It gives off a vibration, like a little hum. And I'll know that light's not fully because I can start hearing that humming and it starts to drive me nuts. So yeah, we all have different ways of how we perceive and feel different energies around us and how we react to them.
I think we're bringing all this up because
exactly.
It's just showing us about why some people can recognize sign of synchronicity and some don't. But it doesn't mean it's not happening for you. That's a perfect example we've been showing. All the little physical stuff that you guys were mentioning or the scientific thing. But it doesn't mean that it's not there, like Cheyenne said. So that's
And I got
perfect.
another great story if I can share, and I'll make it really quick. So last summer, I had just really started talking and meeting with Scott Allen. Everybody knows Scott Allen, Spiritual Essence, and he has a strong connection with ET races, alien races.
Oh,
And so I was talking to him, texting with him one day when we were at the park last. Well, just put out an intention, just let them say, you don't want to, because I still kind of, have some feelings about, ET or alien contact. But he said, just put out there that you would like to safely see a safe one, a good one, a positive. And I'm like, okay, so I finished texting him, and I just remember kind of like, okay, I'll try this activity. And I remember closing my eyes and saying I acknowledge to let me not, but let me do it where I feel safe and I don't get scared, that kind of thing. So I put that out there, and I don't know how long it was after, maybe an hour, if that. I remember because I was working on a piece of watercolor drawing that I was doing at the park, and I just felt like I needed to look up, and where I had just looked a little while ago, there were absolutely no clouds. And in that spot, all of a sudden, was this tiny little cloud about yay big of a saucer. And as soon as it appeared, it just completely dispersed, and there was no other cloud. And that was my confirmation.
yeah. So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, going back to the cards, I used to do that with different colors, different signs, and also Heather was able to manifest that because she had that ability, but she said a good one. You got to be specific.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, you got to make sure that you only draw.
well, that's a whole
Oh,
different thing.
well. Well, then tell them not to use their phones. Don't tell them to use their record players. Don't tell them to use your it the I can't think of his first name, but his last name was Vogel. He worked for IBM. He was one of the first individuals to start working with the crystal chips and working in with the IBM computers. He working with them with the computers, he started to realize how powerful the crystals are, not just for technology, but for healing as well. I think it was Will was his first name. And so he left IBM and he started to work with quartz crystals, and he would start creating crystals, quartz crystals shaped in like the degrees or dimensions of the um, the pyramids. And I actually have a, quartz crystal. Was a aura? It's a tanzanite aura quartz, and it's a crystal that's been exposed to metallic ions, and it's really hard to see,
Yeah,
but
I see it though.
you can see some of the facets on there, and that equals the supposedly the degrees or the shape or whatever of the pyramids. And he actually has these things he created called Vogel wands, which are extremely expensive. When I took my crystal healing class in Sedona back in 2008, it came with the class, but aside from the class, they were like, about $200 or so. But they are here. Let me see if I know where mine is to show everybody. um I don't
Well,
know if
Heather gets that. Sha, you know what? But with technology and all that, they're able to measure like in ghost hunting, they can hear the voice recording, they could see it. So scientific people are starting to see like some of the things that the metaphysical people were talking about with the unseen to be proven. So it's pretty interesting.
No, I usually keep it packed a certain place to keep it safe, and I can't see where it is. That's what I hate. In a safe space, and then you can't remember where you put it. But the wands, because he realized working with the crystals that it did, the energy that it put out into a computer, he realized it can help also with energy, with healing. And so, yeah, they were called Vogel wands. And actually, when I find it, I'll take a picture and I'll post it to my community page. But yeah, I mean, it's the quartz crystals, it's in our bodies. That's why we resonate with crystals, because we are in our bodies. So
Yeah,
when you
I
get
always believe that,
crystals, they resonate and vibrate off each other. That's it's
all that
quantum physics.
DNA, they said the hidden, all the junk DNA, it's only because they don't know what it is. That we're probably we live on planet Earth,
Yeah,
right?
we're not junk. Yeah.
Right. We live on planet Earth. I don't know if people realize in the middle of the universe. So we're probably a bunch of many things
Yeah, we're
from the
stardust.
universe.
Yeah, we're a lot of stuff. Yep.
So,
It's
so I hope
definitely.
you enjoyed the video, Sign and
I
Synchronicity
did.
and Meeting Her Love. It was a cute, loving, I love hearing that. I'm a mush and gush in that way. But
Mush
I
and
don't know,
gush.
somehow we start talking about crystal, then we start talking about things that are there that we don't see, but it's there. So I think now probably,
Mhm.
our spirit guide showing us that just because we don't see it doesn't mean it's there. Or there's things in front of
Mhm.
us that depending on do we recognize it. And that's how sign is synchronicity. But
Mhm.
sometimes it's so obvious you can't miss it.
Yeah. We
Shut
all vibrate. Yeah, we're all on that cosmic web, that spider's web, spider woman's web. We're all intricately or intrinsically connected. God, say that a few times. Oh yeah.
I
But yeah,
think we all
we all.
believe that. I could see how we're all one, but doesn't mean I understand it fully. But I could see that, that's just a concept. But it makes sense how everything's related. We're like feeding off, and everything is just together. So Dina, before we end, I said her name. If I say
Yay!
3 times, will you appear? I don't know on the screen because it'll be scary. I recently have
Well,
come
she'll
to the
appear if
belief
you go
that
to her channel.
I know I'd be
Dina
like,
has a
holy.
channel.
So she believes that everything shares our DNA. Yeah.
We are all threads in the tapestry of life. That's perfectly said. I've actually written poems and stuff in the past using that line a lot because it's just so true. It's a beautifully visual, spiritual, metaphorical. It's just yeah.
So we're not
Oh
gonna say her name.
no,
We're not gonna say
no,
it 3 times.
no. You're much nicer than him.
So
Yeah.
I hope we got something from it from watching this. If anything, it's just a nice mush and good story in the beginning, and her honey actually showed up. That was very nice of him. And then, you got to see like how we probably are getting sign of synchronicity. Some people like, yeah, I get it all the time, but some people like, I'm not saying your name, Sha. It's like, oh, I don't know if I get that. You get it. You get it. And do that thing when you drive, go, I want to see red cars. Or I want to see like a sign or something that is
I
about
want to
angels.
see winning lottery numbers. That's what
I
I want to
know.
see. We play 3 times a week for like how many years now? Almost 20 years. And we're still waiting for those numbers to come.
I think that
So
had to do with that belief
if the green
system or
card
something.
works, have them with the numbers on it. Hell yeah. Yeah, I know, you're right. Yep.
Oh, yeah. Somebody in the chat room asking
Yes, she does.
Shah if she used tarot card, and Shah said yes.
And like Dina says, she goes, I like to smoke, cuss, and throw cards. I'm like, okay, I went to her channel. Yes, that's exactly what she does. And she's
Yeah, and
fun.
she doesn't say
Yeah,
anything
she's
about her
spunky. I
channel.
like her.
She's like, I don't promote, but we're all finding out,
And I need
Shah.
to
We're
have Dina on
finding
my
out.
channel. Come on, Dina. You got to come on my channel. Hang out, talk, gab. Get it out there, girlfriend.
Let's embarrass her. See, that's her channel, Shah Woman,
That's a
DENA.
beautiful word. I've been wanting to say
We're all
shawl
learning.
as in like a shawl. But I think that's just beautiful how she wrote that. Oh Lord, what? I prefer
I
Lenormand.
embarrass her.
Hey, I've got several different Lenormand decks myself. I actually have one called the
I don't know
Lunatic
how to do that.
Lenormand. It's I can't do the Grand Tableau. But Lenormand tells such a great story. All you have to do is pull a certain amount of cards and you just lay them right next to each other, and you have a story or the information right there. You just learn what the cards mean. There's not a lot of them. There's like I think maybe 34 if that, and just depending on what's next to each other. There's the Kipper version too. There's yeah, I just do a 9 card spread. Yeah, and a investigative tarot with Ivana Intuitive tomorrow night, and it's going to be on a missing 13-year-old boy that's currently missing in Wisconsin.
On your on
And
your
I'm
on your on
on my
yours?
channel, and I'm probably going to
Okay.
be using the Lenormand deck because I want what I've been doing is I've been noticing it's a trick that I learned on Pinterest. Pinterest has so many cool tarot spreads, people, sharing their tarot spreads, meanings of cards, cheat sheets. And one of the tarot tricks were, and you can do this with any card, and I'll just use the one that got me started, was if you want to find what areas in your life that you need to kind of do like a rebirth, that you need to redo, you think of that question, you shuffle whatever deck you're using, you find the death card in the deck and the card before and the card after, and you do a 3-card spread right there. And the card
That's
before
interesting.
is
For
the
those of
recent
you who
past
don't,
leading into the question.
I'm sorry, I'm interrupting her, of course. For those of you, her YouTube is in the title, Indigo Jaguar Intuitive Art 7323, but also in the
I do.
description. Sometimes she does the missing people, right? The missing people stuff.
And the Lenormands are good for that. That's one of the decks I like to use. So
And
because you
here,
have the Kipper, it opens the story.
and what's the topic for tomorrow?
I was
Diane,
finished.
yeah, that's interesting, Diane, to manifest with tarot. That's pretty interesting too,
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah, it's just
So-
it's a young boy. He's 13 years old, and he went missing. His dad's a well-known survivalist, or he's very adept at being. He's very pro survivalist. And from what Ivana was saying, I think the boy might have wanted to prove himself, and he took off. They're thinking in the woods, but it's been 2 months. Her and I are just going to do a read, try to figure out, is he still with us? What's going on? Our readings are always respectful. Um, you know, we don't do it for money. I let people know we have not been contacted by the family or the police to do this. We receive no money for it. We just want to see what's going on, and if at some point this information is helpful with whenever we come up with, and they come across it, then it's to help. It's not to, drivers or to, glorify, someone's tragedy. It's just, um, she's learning how to do cold cases, in a class that she's learning. And sometimes law enforcement does reach out to people to help. There have been times when, people with cards or abilities have helped. I mean, I used to read, I learned how to do this through Maya at Black Cat Tarot. And sometimes she would say, "Can you help us?" And we would get together and we would do one, at a family's request. So, and one of our fellow readers,
And
Sharon
have
from
you
Strawberry
have you had
Rhubarb
results
Tarot.
where it came accurate? Like, have you had results
We well,
where help the case?
my yeah, we've come back and we don't know if anybody was found, but we were told that our information was helpful, that what we were coming up with had put people in the direction where they already know where they needed to go. Sharon from Strawberry Rhubarb Tarot, she, sometimes does the investigative tarot, and we actually read on somebody that's missing in her family that was helpful for her. So it's to help, it's to, bring, to give the victim a voice or to maybe help. It's
And and how did that
something that
work
I
with
feel
sign
is
and
important for me to
synchronicity?
do.
When you listen to that, is there sign and synchronicity sometimes you following? Are you getting
Um,
like,
well, cards
besides
that will
like,
come up and say yes, and now I'm because I have focusing more on, closely on ethics and stuff in reading with third world, third parties. I'm more conscious now of just trying, and Ivana's teaching me, just, focusing on the individual, not necessarily pulling cards on certain individuals doing things. it's a whole process. And with people I have had privately, other readers, come to me and then another reader and say, could you kind of pull some cards on this, and we'll do, and they won't tell us anything. And recently that happened with me and another reader, and the cards that we were getting, the other person was like, yep, I can confirm that. Yep, 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 and so um, for me, I like doing things like that because it makes me feel like I'm actually helping somebody. For me, that's my, not with the politics and that energy. I like helping families, or possibly being able to help families and give, victims a voice, if it's still, you know what I mean?
That's
I'm
very
trying to do
rewarding.
something.
It's very rewarding.
But I mean, I've had people tell us, have come into my chats in the past saying that, you're, trying to get subscribers. This family should be left alone. This is disrespectful. And I'm like, it's not coming from a place of disrespect at all. And on my thumbnails, wherever or has been found, murdered or whatever, if you have any information, I always make sure that all the contact information on the local sheriff's department or FBI is listed on the thumbnail, in case anybody comes across and says, wait a minute, I recognize that, or I think I know, then there's that number for them to call. So,
And
for
also,
me, it's
before
reward.
before you do a subject, don't you intuitively ask your guide if that's something you should be doing, right? You ask them, this is something I should.
Yeah, if
Yeah. So,
so I'm
that
looking
helps.
forward to tomorrow night. Yeah,
Okay, what time
about
tomorrow?
7 o'clock.
Okay, we're gonna watch that. And before we go, let's see what Cheyenne had to say. I saw a channel doing something like that, and they kept pulling Five of Pentacles on a missing person. They end up finding her in a refrigerator. The Five of Pentacles being in the cold.
Being in cold.
Right, because it's like you see like the two people out in the cold in the snow in the traditional tarot. Oh, that's interesting. That's a whole nother vibe. We'll do, maybe I'll invite Heather and whoever else you want to bring that do things like that, and we'll do something similar.
Yeah,
But
just starting to do that again, because I was doing it up until the point where I came, because I got COVID this year. I had it in February, and since February, my energy has changed, and so I'm much more sensitive, and I've been
oh,
grounding,
good,
reworking,
good.
learning more with my cards, and now I'm feeling like I'm at a place where it's like, okay, cases come up, or when it's meant to come up, I'll start doing it again. And I was talking to Ivana after one of our full moon readings that we did, and she's like, yeah, I'm taking this class, I'm really excited, and we're just told to, this is the person, and just kind of contact, see if you can see well their eyes. And she goes, and it's to do cold cases. I'm like, are you kidding? So for me, that was a synchronicity to get back into it. So there's a synchronicity. So with her telling me that, and I said, well, listen, I used to do this. Would you like to join me for one? You can bring a case or something that your class is working on, and we can bring it to YouTube. I'll host it, and we'll see, what we can, find out. So yeah, there's that
Interesting.
synchronicity right there. There's
Good.
another one. So see, things
Awesome.
like that are a synchronicity, Dina.
Yeah, absolutely.
You
They're
just
all
never
related.
know.
Everything we've been talking about, even the crystal question somehow, it's all related. So thank you for
It
watching. I'm
all
gonna
it
have
all comes.
Heather back again in the future if she
Thank you.
wants to.
Oh, I'd be happy to.
And yeah, I'm sure we come up with
It was
any.
fun.
What by the way, Heather, before we go, you think imagination is part of what we don't see, but it could be real? I think that's a little different, right? Unless you
Yes,
put it
because
down
there
into
are times
action.
where I thought something was my imagination, and come to find out, like really quick, when I was younger, I remember playing with my imaginary friends flower beds in our yard. And for me, I remembered just, playing with imaginary friends, talking to, da da da. And as I got older, my mom was like, well, you were used to say that you were playing with your and talking to your imaginary friends in the flowers. And I went, oh, And then I realized, wait a minute, those weren't imaginary friends. I was probably communicating with the fae or whatever that was in the flower beds that my mom was growing. So it all comes around.
Exactly.
So what I
Okay.
thought was imaginary was probably exactly what I was doing. And when I was at a recent park a couple weeks ago, I was looking at some flowers, taking a photograph, and in my head I heard, do you remember you used to play with us? I heard that clear as a bell in my head, not in my ear, but in my head. Remember you used to play with us? And I stood back. I'm like, wow, yeah. So little by little, I'm getting more attuned.
I think especially if you work at your intuition, you have
Hmm.
more trust in yourself. You could tell when it's not, it's just imagination, so to speak, or imagination that's real.
And
You know what I
sometimes
mean?
you have to
We're
really
playing, we're
work at.
playing with
Some
the
people
word.
are born. Yes, some people are born and straight out, out of the womb, being able to see stuff, hear stuff, communicate with people and things. For some of us, we start, at the beginning and find what it is that we're strongest in, and then as we develop that, possibly other bits of the veil opens up for us. The same thing with my art. I couldn't draw as a kid, but yet I ended up going to college and graduating with a degree, and I have my art degree. So it's just all about focusing and practicing and doing what you love.
All good stuff. Okay, let's wave goodbye
Oh, hi,
to.
Hummingbird Life.
Oh, that. Thank you for stopping
I know
by,
that was a
Hummingbird Life.
lurker. Yeah, we're just ending, but yeah, I love the story about the flowers. Yep. And another synchronicity. This park
I
that
think.
we go
Okay, let's
to,
keep going. We're gonna keep
we've been
going.
we've been seeing. Okay, so there's this park that Shannon and I love to go to, where I was just talking about. Do you remember that used to play with us? It's the North Tonawanda Botanical Gardens. It's a park, and they have these beautiful flower beds set aside for educational purposes. One's for flowers for birds, bees, and another one that shows plants that are used for culinary and medicinal. And they have these little areas around the park. And the last couple times that we went there, we rarely see them, but we have been suddenly seeing what? Hummingbirds. And the last time I was there, I was by myself because I was coming from an appointment. I just wanted to kind of sit, decompress, and just have a book and sit under a tree. I'm sitting there and I feel like there's something in front, and I look up, there's a butterfly, but I'm like, wait a minute, that's not a butterfly. And the hummingbird had just come like up this to me and then took off. And then to have talking about this and look down and I just saw a hummingbird life. So that's why I had to share that story.
You know,
Just in case
Hummingbird
hummingbird
Life.
might have needed to hear it.
She said this feed just randomly popped up, but that requires a sign of synchronicity that you need to come here so Heather could end
There
the
you go,
story.
synchronicity.
Uh huh. Uh
So
huh. But it's nice to
hummingbirds
meet
are
you.
very powerful. They move through the dimensions, they're decisive. They can move in and out, just like the dragonflies. Very powerful, beings with the
You
wings.
know,
Yeah.
I bet you we have so many stories to could go on.
Yeah. So I'll stop.
No, but I was just
Two
thinking, like,
hours
the reason
later.
why it's good to talk about this, because there's so many times
Yeah.
we're like, oh, I don't remember one, but our spirit guide will give us an example that I thought of from 10 years ago. So that's another way of going, like, Sha. I'll say that 3 times. Sha. Um, you could say, make an intention. I would like to see this in sign of synchronicity. See if it happens
I
in a
had a
positive
hummingbird
way.
come to my face when I was grieving. I
Well,
was
that's
well,
unique. I
I
mean,
wasn't grieving, but yeah, they're very yeah. Hummingbird life. Have you looked up the here really quick? I promise. 'Cause I know exactly where it is.
hi, Septina. How are you? We're talking about
Ah,
hummingbird and sign and synchronicity. Do you have any sign and synchronicity
Septina.
stories, Septina? I have one that
The
somebody. I live in
Septina
Queens.
has a channel too. The
Yeah,
tipsy
the
tea leaf
Tipsy Tea
oracle.
Leaf
She's fun.
Oracle, and she's been on my channel too.
Uh,
Um,
oh, that's right. I forgot. Well, yeah, but for people, Hummingbird spirit. So page 104. I think hummingbird needs to come out tonight.
I think so.
Information on hummingbird.
I think
You
it's not
just kinda-
a random thing.
So hummingbird spirit, be here now. Okay, so this is based off of the Collect, Bear, and Read Animal Oracle. I love this deck. And the oracle message is the hummingbird's wings beat so swiftly it can hover in seeming stillness as it drinks deeply from a flower. Hummingbird spirit comes to remind you that the beauty and sweetness of life is in the eternal now, the timeless present. Here and now, you are becoming the person the experiences you wish to have. Focus your energy on the flower before you, for what you desire is being provided. Yes, there are blossoms everywhere. The choices can be dazzling. Hummingbird Spirit's message is that you have no need to go about in search of something better, for all that you require and desire is before you. You will know this as you become still, feeling your connection to Spirit who loves you unconditionally and will always provide for you. But is it, you want me to? Can I read the last one?
Sure.
So protection messages usually when a card might be in a reversal, which doesn't mean that it's bad. It's just a different message. Um, but it says here also, nectar is everywhere, but hummingbird spirit is here to remind you that flying from flower to flower and being all over the place wastes precious energy. So this is the other possible side of the coin because you have to have both for balance. Be still, be here now in the present moment and sustenance available to you. Focus on one flower today, just one. Nectar is there for you, and Hummingbird Spirit's message is that wherever you put your attention, there your energy flows. Are you focused on the sweetness or finding something better somewhere else? Always yearning and feeling that life is not enough and you are not enough. All you seek is right here, right now. Appreciate the present, and you will see that you are where you need to be and enjoying what you are entitled and perfect moment.
That goes with sign and synchronicity. What you
Because
focus
you're
on.
focusing your time. Yep.
And funny, because I live in
Exactly.
Queens, New York, you don't really see hummingbirds, but I've been into the countryside of New York, which is called upstate. It's not far up, it's Heather. And I would be sitting on a deck and I see this hummingbird. It's so awesome. Because for me, I see dragonflies maybe once in a while, but that's a total different one. But a hummingbird, not really. That's different. So, but
And there's
Gypsy
going to
said,
be. Sorry.
go ahead. What you were saying?
No, I didn't mean to interrupt. I thought you were done.
Oh, please, you and I are hyper, so that's good. We're just happy. What a nice surprise to have many synchronicity moments in my life. See, unlike Shah, but Shah will start seeing sign of synchronicity. We don't know what that means. Septina is very aware of those synchronicities in her life. By the way,
And there are
Septina, you know
other.
how you want to find a partner like me? Heather had a cute story about how she met her honey. It's more toward the beginning of the video.
And he even came on and said hi to everybody.
Yes.
I guilted him. I was like, "Oh, come on, come in here." Showed the old picture of what we used to look like. But with Hummingbird Spirit too, there are a lot of other deck creators, and there's also other indigenous cultures in Europe, in the Americas, that have their metaphysical or spiritual associations with hummingbird in here because I just love the colors in this deck. So for hummingbird life, there you go. And for everybody, be here now. That's beautiful.
Hummingbird is like a great reminder of that. Like you're really focusing on that. And the Tipsy Tea Leaf Oracle, she said, when we buried my best friend, as her coffin lowered, over 100 dragonflies hovered over us. That's not a
Wow.
coincidence. People are like, oh yeah, that's a coincidence. No.
That was her gift to you. I'm present. You know, this is all an illusion
Thank
because
you.
this is what dragonflies represent is kind of like the illusion, that, we move through the dimensions that a lot of, what we perceive, is an illusion. Self, whether it's self, that we're taught or we put it on ourselves. But death is an illusion, that there's more on the other side. And I think that
You know,
was beautiful.
there was a Native American chief. Sometimes you just have mental illness and you see things and, maybe have schizophrenic. But he said that most people who were in the, what do you call them, mental facility type where they have problems, a lot of them are just healers or spiritual
Mental
people.
health.
They just don't understand.
Well, people know that I have a mental health. I have several. So I'm a part of the mental health community, and I have been in, the hospital getting help when I needed it. And but in the old days, and old days really isn't that far. I mean, we can go back to 80s, almost to 90s, where certain asylums and facilities were still being operated that was just absolutely cruel, and things that were done on people. But in a lot of indigenous cultures from around the world, signs of people seeing things, hearing voices and stuff, a lot of them were considered touched by spirit, and a lot of them were seen as like we would think of as medicine men and women. However,
Right.
what they would call that in their culture, shamans. Um, I'm not sure what There's other different names, but yeah. So not saying everybody, but a majority. Not a majority, but
A lot of
yes.
them, some of them, but Subpoena said, I often said on my channel that schizophrenia is intense psychic connection unharnessed.
And there are some that are unhealthy, and they people can cause harm, and that's why we really need to kind of get over that stigma of being able to talk about and being able to get people to get help, and not being afraid, and being able to have the proper medications and things and stuff. Because I'm a peer. I've been a peer advocate since 2012, when oh, this is interesting how this is going into this. But in 2011, what mental health was, it deteriorated, and I attempted to take my life. And I was in the hospital for the first time. And thank goodness for, even though over the years I had to keep adjusting medications. For once, I wasn't ashamed, and I was able to get help. And um, you know, I'm trying to figure out what spirit wants me to say here, but just that medication helped. It helped me to be able to get grounded, and I had my art, and I had and over the years I've got support groups and things. So we just really need to get past that stigma of people, of getting help, and they say that in the news that a lot of crime, against people is committed by people with a mental illness, but in actuality, there are more crimes committed against, and a lot of times violent, against individuals with a mental health diagnosis. So again, social to get in touch with local advocacy groups and meet people, and see, those in, your community. That people in places, in jobs and stuff that you wouldn't know that had to take medication, or we all have mental health.
Well, you know what comes to mind?
And
The people who are out there, like it kind of goes with what Tipsy T said. It's unharnessed. A lot of time we were too out there, going back with sign and synchronicity, to the point that I was paying attention so much with this connect with that and that connect with that. If I'm ungrounded, that is too much. So I could see why painting or people walking or different techniques help you to ground. We're supposed to
counseling too.
we're spiritual being,
And
but we are human. We have to ground. That's why a lot of spiritual people are out there, or if they don't harness right, um, it's like I don't need to know. Every time I see 444 and I see 111, you could go crazy. Like you could
mm,
pay attention to some sign and synchronicity, but you have to
mhm.
ground yourself. That's what I find for myself.
But for some
And
people, medication isn't the end. Well, for me, at one point, I had a doctor say, or not, she wasn't a doctor, she was a director of the mental health program in the area. And she was like, well, you can't expect to take a pill and you be okay. And I was like, no, but sometimes the medication, I know medication can get me into a state of mind where I can without any additional others, because I'm going to be mentally grounded enough and in the right state of mind where I can go and learn coping skills. And um, taking even basic like DBT classes, CBT, that's offered for free in your local communities and things, is a great way of learning how to. And they teach mindfulness, radical acceptance, interpersonal relationships. It's really helpful because, like I said, on some level, we all have and some people, theirs is not, aren't a concern for them like for some of us, but we can still all take from those modalities and learn how to be able to adapt. For me, I had to go back on another medication last week to kind of help to get through the stress of some stuff that's going on right now, but I know that probably within 6 months to a year, I have a feeling, maybe even less than that, that I may not need that, and that's okay. And I had to really get of shame, of guilt, of having to, go back on this, knowing that, but I do need this. This is for my health. This is for my happiness and my, and so it's just really good to find a good doctor and a counselor that you can feel comfortable with and trust. And I've been blessed. Really, it was up and down and a struggle for about a good 6 years, but eventually I asked Spirit, I need somebody that I can really work with, that's going to stay, that I can, and I've had Kathy now for almost going on 7 years, and she's a rock. She's a foundation of mine, and I can go to her and talk to her at any time that I need it. And the doctors know that I'm not they don't push pills. Not all doctors push pills. Mine don't like doing that, and they respect my opinion, my perspective, and they know how I know my body, and so they're always with them. It's a very respectful one-to-one, conversation. It's not like I'm doctor, you don't know anything, and there are some that are like that. So you just really need to put a intention out to spirit to guide you to whoever it is that you need to see, whether any kind of doctor or anything in life. When you need to see a professional for anything, just put me in the path of the right person, and that's where you start to notice the synchronicities and the guides. You know,
It go
the
back
sign.
with your card, like the slowing down, bringing the woo into our
Mhm.
mundane living, into the practical. Because we are a spiritual being, but we're human. So finding that balance of both. And Septina had mentioned how she'd help with her depression through microdosing. And they have so many people. It's just, we're learning about the brain as well. So anyway, we're going to end this. And thank you.
Yes,
And I'm going to have you on for
I talked
sure.
everybody's ears off. Alrighty. I would love to do an episode on mental health with you, and kind of coping and points, and hit not points, oh,
I would. You know
tips and
why?
stuff and
You know
projects
why?
and
'Cause
things.
sometimes
And
I'm afraid to go to a therapist because I am very intuitive. Like that's why a lot of
Mhm.
people go to coaches like Tipsy T is a coach. She's a coach. But it's like
Mhm.
they can't,
Find a
Septina.
coach or a counselor, somebody
Um,
that you can talk to. Bye,
but you found
Septina.
somebody.
Mwah.
You found somebody that the
And
traditional
she's open,
coach,
and yeah.
and she's
No,
open.
she's
So
not a coach. She's a
I mean, I'm sorry,
a,
she's a
a former
therapist.
healthcare therapist. She's
Yeah.
had multiple, but I when I told her, she was like, "Oh no, that's fascinating." She goes, "I love learning," and she's just like, "Yep." Yeah. When I talked to her about the full moon, new moon, she goes, "Yep, I know when my
Mm.
boys, when one starts to act one way, I'm like, okay, what phase is the moon?" And she still, they do the church, or they still have her basic beliefs, but she's very open. She loves to learn pagan beliefs and the early people and the
I'm gonna make
celebrations
that
for summer
intention
and
to
everything.
attract the right kind of
Yeah.
therapist that pays,
And
and
it's
she, yeah,
spirit guided me to the right one. Yep.
yeah.
They put me on her
Okay, we'll
path.
definitely do.
They
I
put me
would love to do that video with you, especially I could share like when is it like some people like especially for people who are intuitive, like they might be afraid to go to a therapist, you know, like psychists or you know, they're
or
very
go to a group. I started
yeah.
Kathy's running a women's group, and I'm going to take that. It's going to be women only, and will be there. She creates a safe space for all of us to share. We all come from different backgrounds. No one, is any when it comes to mental health, or women that need support. It doesn't matter what walk of life, we all come together. We all have similar experiences, and she creates a very safe space for all of us. So I'm looking forward to probably sharing some of what I learned in that group channel. I'm thinking about doing that as a weekly, when I go to group, pick a day out that week and go, this is what we discussed. Does anybody in chat want to talk? Throw some cards, and seeing stuff. So yeah.
Maybe we'll do that on your I'll come on, you know.
Yeah.
That'd be fun. Okay.
Sounds good.
Take
That
care.
sounds
Thank
good
you,
to me.
Mother.
All right, everybody. Bye. Thank you
Bye,
again.
everybody. Thank
Have a
you.
good night.
And by the way, if you're watching this video afterward, please share any sign synchronicity example. That'd be great. Thanks.
In the comments. That helps her with the algorithms. Gets her up there.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.